What's up everybody? Welcome. Did I see Anika snuck in? Well, we've got 5 people watching, but welcome to the 5 of you that made it here on time tonight for night 1, as you can see from the fancy little thumbnail there, of 2 weeks of tea, where we will be going live every night for the next 2 weeks. So you lucky 5 people that tuned in tonight, welcome. You are the first pioneers that may or may not see the duration of all of these proceedings that I kind of semi have planned, and I'm semi gonna wing and make up as I go along over the next couple of weeks. But welcome to night 1 of 2 weeks of tea. 2 years old. We will be celebrating our 2nd anniversary on the 29th of November, which is when 2 weeks of tea will end. So that will be the climatic what's the other word I look? Finale, the climatic finale to the shenanigans and proceedings. So it's a little bit like spring break, but longer in just not in spring. It is hard to believe that we've been around for nearly 2 years. This year has flown by, but anyway, let me get the little thumbnail down, unless you guys still want to look at it a little bit more. But that's it, guys. It is the start of a 2-week celebration to celebrate 2 years of the thrift store. Welcome there, Kelly Keyboard, to the thrift store. Please remember, Jolly Ranchers are not sprinkles. But anyway, some good news, I think, from Anika, whatever that is. I'll find out in a minute. Let me try and get rid of the thumbnail for you. There it is. Welcome everybody, it's me, your favorite or least favorite YouTuber, Tsp, the thrift store prepper. So we got 8-9 people watching now, almost at double figures. That's not so bad. I did get that sinking feeling a little bit during the intro there, when we only had me and Kali Ninja watching. What's up, Tam Tam? Glad to see you. Congratulations on the 2 years, T. So that's what also I'm trying to do. 2 weeks of tea, 2 years, tea everywhere, and we've got more teas with the arrival of Tam Tam. So thank you. Although we're not there yet, we could almost get terminated, which is something we very nearly did have to face as a reality for almost 9 months. I was under a code red community strike. Excuse me, that was a semi-burp, semi-cough, but there was a long period of time where I was on a code red status that one more community strike would have ended Tsp Tv, the thrift store prepper for good, although we did have sort of backup channels and stuff like that. Oh my goodness, maybe we might have some sort of blasts from the past and some fond memories over the last, maybe some not so fond memories of the last couple of years. So we are in double digits, 10 people watching. Tsp Tv, 2 weeks of tea starts today. Look at all the teas, guys. There might be some subliminal messaging or something going on there, probably not, but glad to see you all, guys, at the start of this. But what was I saying? I got a little bit distracted, but yes, that's right, there was a little time in the thrift store history where we were very much, in fact, going into the start of this year, 2020, we were on a code red. One more strike would have terminated us. Due to that status, or due to that fact, I did have to resort to self-censorship and delete a lot of content that was once on this channel that was getting some views and getting a little bit of sort of notoriety for the thrift store. But rather than risk getting shut down for the sake of stuff that you'd already seen, or some of you had seen, I did take that decision in order to save the channel, and lucky enough that did turn out to be a good decision in the end. We managed to navigate ourselves through those rocky waters in choppy terrains of community status strikes and got ourselves back onto a green level playing field, strike free. We did pick up another one a little while ago, not long after we did get back onto a level playing field for discussing a real-time event in Nova Scotia. If any of you can cast your minds back, and recall the events in around March. I can't even remember myself when it was, but there was a shooter in Nova Scotia, 18 people shot in very strange circumstances, and during the live announcement of this, we were broadcasting a live show ourselves where we drew attention to that. I shut down the live stream, put up a video where I sort of gathered as much information on the event as I could that was available at the time, and pointed out that this was a little bit looking like it might have been staged, and there was some similarities to other sort of staged events such as Sandy Hook and stuff, that they were kind of using the same script and plot for. But that brought another strike, which again gave me a 3-month period where we had to sort of watch our P's and Q's, so to speak. We're over that. We are still strike free at the moment, and we are looking somewhat healthy. We've been getting a few more views lately. We've attracted a few new thrift store community members that have been contributing nicely. So you know, all in all, 2 years ago, it was about this time of year that I was sort of under the you know, thinking about a YouTube channel, although I didn't really know what my YouTube channel would be or what content I would be putting out if I did have a channel. And somehow in a sort of conversation with Michelle Dion, Eternity 736 or 731, can't remember exactly, but we were chatting about some stuff, some interesting things around the time of Hot Musket. Some of you may or may not be aware of that. So welcome. I noticed we've got Alan Habs. You're one of the new Thrift Fam community members we were just speaking about. And we've got our little Cajun agent Nancy down there. But as I was saying, around about 2 years ago, I was in chats in cahoots talking with Michelle over there, who is Eternity 73 something or other. You may know her. She's quite active, posting stuff for TSP News, which is no longer around. We might get to that at some time. But it was around that time I was looking up some stuff towards martial law, because I had sort of a nasty feeling in looking at the things and the goings on in and around that time that maybe we were due some kind of global event. It'd been a little bit of a while since we saw the last major global event, although it was the logistics of that and the proximity were isolated to Lower Manhattan on a certain Tuesday in September 2001. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But we were overdue, and sort of in and around that time I was looking up stuff for martial law, and somehow that's how I discovered Hot Musket. And in that time we're sort of looking at people that were maybe a little bit like-minded and sort of the old Marfugal kind of try, you know, he had that thing where if you were a little close, maybe have your little kind of communities in splinter cells or something along those lines, where you could sort of, if something did happen, shit hit the fan, you'd have other people around you or close around that you could maybe strengthen numbers, right? Tribe up, which is a very good idea. I'm not going to say anything against that at all. That is a smart thing to do, be in close contact with like-minded individuals. But anyway, digressing, over a couple of weeks we were sort of chatting about goings on, stuff that was happening. Hot Musket sort of fizzled into nothing more than clickbait. Let's try and get something designed to deliver you some EMP shield sale pitches. But anyway, we were sort of chatting about some goings on, things that were happening, in particular the G20 here in Toronto back in 2010. Although I didn't live here at the time, I was very aware of the event, and do believe that that was a dummy run in a drill where they trained sort of government contractors, mercenary security forces in dealing with a public roundup of individuals and then a mass imprisonment, which is exactly what happened over the G20. But anyway, that was kind of the discussion that was going back and forth at the time, and sort of Michelle suggested that maybe I should share that information with people. Now, rather than make a post that you put on Facebook that gets forgotten about sort of an hour later or a couple of days later if you're lucky, I figured, you know what, I've been thinking about a YouTube channel. This is my YouTube channel. Not only that, we're also talking about how you can prep thrifty and how you can, you know, put together pantries at the dollar store again, which was information that Michelle, as a prepper and somebody that was a bit of a sort of truth movement, had overlooked. You know, people don't tend to go to the thrift store or the dollar store for their prepping needs. Many of them sort of buy overpriced items or take advice from what I like to call pretender preppers. And some of you may or may not have remembered some videos that I did put up about pretender preppers exposed, where we looked at some of these shill people on YouTube that are part of the corporate YouTube organization that kind of give you that smash the bell, hit the like, be sure to subscribe, share, product code in the description, that kind of thing. But anyway, what am I talking about? Lost my train of thought. All of this stuff, decided that could be my channel, and there, within a moment, 10 minutes later, the Thrift Store Prepper was born. I made a little Facebook group. I also made a Gmail account, started a YouTube channel. Didn't have any content or even any idea of how to make videos, edit videos, none of that. I had no idea. I just sort of was winging it, like, oh shit, I've made a YouTube channel now. I've told a few people I'm going to start a YouTube channel and bring some sort of truth and thrifty prepping advice and stuff like that. How do I do it? And here we are 2 years later. We've got people watching in a live audience. We are streaming on 3 platforms. Let me do the little thing. I do like doing this. We are on Facebook, although I'm pretty sure absolutely nobody is watching on Facebook, as tends to be the case with these moldy streaming. There we are. There's the Facebook logo for you there. We're also on Twitch, where I think we have 1 follower so far. Yay, 1 follower on Twitch, but he's popped in a couple of times and added some valuable content and contributions to the chat, so that is nice. And of course, you're all here at the thrift store, where it all started on YouTube. So as I said, guys, we've got a little bit of fun in stuff planned over the next couple of weeks, as well as some information. We'll probably be bringing you a little bit of everything that makes the Thrift Store Prepper Tsp TV what it is. So we're going to bring you some fiction decoded. We're going to be looking at some sort of sweet conspiracies and mysteries. We will be marking the anniversary 11/22. If anyone in the comments can tell me the significance of November the 22nd in the comments, that would be great. And let's see if we do have anybody that is really paying attention there. I do need a teleprompter, Alan Habs. That is something maybe I should think of, or maybe I should start writing notes and things like that, maybe scripting it, but then that would lose a little bit of the charm. Although I have, you know, shit video productions, I don't really put too much thought and efforts into this, although I do put a little bit of thought and effort into what I do deliver you these days from the humble beginnings a little while ago. Oh my goodness, Tam Tam, bad Tam Tam, naughty Tam Tam, you've been affected the Google message moderator police. They've removed your message, which was something about FEMA regions, right? Yeah, FEMA region number 4. Apparently Google doesn't want you to post that, sweetheart. So bad Tam Tam, go to the naughty corner and stop posting things that don't go against the standards that the community is required. Yeah, look, I don't know if you can see that there, but hopefully you can see it in the chat. A moderator, so moderator from the Google team, go piss up a rope, you fucktard. Delete that, bitch. See if they shut me down. Fuck you, Google moderator police. Swear and curse at the Google moderator. I can't even say the word. They've made me so mad. The Google moderator team. Give them a little bit of your thoughts and opinions in the comments now in the form of your favorite curse word. Let's give them stuff to, let's keep them busy. They're here, let's make them earn their money. It's a little bit like being in prison, you know, you kind of make the guards earn their money. They're locked in with you, but they're getting paid to be there as opposed to you suffering. So make them earn their money. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the Google moderator team are sitting on butt plugs. Probably one of them has a chicken head attachment that vibrates and glows in the dark, that is activated via Bluetooth, and there's probably 2 of them in the bathroom now that are kind of just rubbing the tips of their penises together because they're not really brave enough to go full gay, but if they just tap the tips of their cocks together, that kind of will give that little bit of excitement that beta males and stuff like that. Well, if we get shut down, we get shut down. Let's go down in a blaze of glory. Cue Bon Jovi, down in a blaze of glory. So that's what I'm saying. Fuck. And they've regioned you up, right? Down, I'm guessing. I haven't really been paying too much attention to what has been going on over the last couple of weeks. We are going to show that. They blocked you again, Tam Tam. You go, girl. Go, Tam Tam. Go, Tam Tam. Keep cursing. Tell Google what you think of them. Go, Tam Tam. So we are a little bit excited tonight, and we are getting into the spirit and festivities of 2 weeks of tea, 2 years celebration. So there was a kind of little bit of a half-hearted shit description of kind of how it all begun, in why it began. Sorry, I got a little bit of a echo somewhere. That's better. I had a volume up on my other phone. But anyway, we do got a little bit of a presentation for you this evening. Some of you, oh no, really, a presentation? Yeah, and unfortunately it's a little bit long, or longer than I anticipated, but we can kind of stop and start it if we need to. I can press the play button and the pause button, and maybe we can chat about stuff there. But it is going to be following a little bit on the lines of how social media is not only controlling the minds but controlling the behavior, and how this kind of mind control and behavioral pattern is in fact little more than social engineering, human farming, putting us into our respective pens. You know, like when you go to the farm, the pigs have their little corner, the cows have their field, the sheep have their part, and this is exactly what they're doing with social media. They're dividing us all up into their little categories, and they can categorize us and characterize us as a demographic that then they can either target us with information, or they can use that information against us one way in another. And you've got to believe it, guys. They are collecting data for a future social credit system that is possibly going to be implemented. Some of you may have been noticing that places like Greece and Italy now, I believe, they're under lockdown. If you want to leave the house, you have to text the authorities that you are going to leave and go out, and they might have to be granted permission or not if they can. So freedoms are gone, people, and you know, you kind of hear about all this stuff about, oh, come and take our guns from our cold hands, or we're going to fight back. Well, that's all well and good if you're fighting an enemy that you need to shoot back at. We're not facing an enemy that we can fire bullets at or bombs at or things like this. We're being fought a battle of bits and bytes, not bullets and bombs, and the bits and bytes are coming at us hard and fast via social media, which is where pretty much everyone is congregated and saturated right now due to these lockdown conditions. There's probably never been a time prior to this where more people at any one time are connected to social media, and during this COVIDian era I have noticed behavioral patterns within social media with my own eyes that has led me to kind of look into some of the stuff that we've been talking about over the last few weeks here at Tsp Tv. And what we are going to be looking at in a little while in the presentation that I got lined up for you is kind of the tactics and methods that social media use against us in order to gain our attention. And why I bring you this information is hopefully it will sink in, and what we need to do is fight back. And as I said, we can't fight back against this enemy with AR-15s or maybe homemade petrol bombs or devices that you sort of get a jam jar, you fill the jam jar up with Vaseline and hand sanitizer, maybe throw a handful of marbles, a handful of rusty nails, and maybe a can of butane, and then stick a sparkler in the top, put the lid on and throw it. That sort of stuff isn't gonna work against the enemy we are facing. The enemy we are facing, people, is an artificial intelligent one. It's within our cellular devices, and I've told you before what SMART technology actually stands for, the acronym. For those of you who can't remember, surveillance, monitoring, advanced research technology. It was militarized, it was designed for the military to help them target and understand their enemies that they were facing in foreign countries in battlefield conditions. This smart technology analyzed all the data that give the military then the best tactics available to go in and infiltrate them. And that is what is happening now. We are being infiltrated by artificial intelligence. Not only that, human intelligence that is under the operation of artificial intelligence has all the tech savvy technology, the latest gadgets at their disposal to pose as individuals that are like you and me, perhaps. They may have YouTube channels, they may have Instagram accounts, they may have Facebook pages, they may have a variety of social media, but they have this presence that they've created, but they're not that person. They are in fact government agencies or contractors or people that have been under the employ of some kind of tech giant in order to play the part of a person that has a particular ideology, belief, or a propaganda that they need to deliver to you. I do not comply. 20 seconds to comply. Anyone tell me what movie that was from? Did anybody answer what 11/22 was? Let me go back and see if I got there. Any answers on that one? Don't think we do. But if you're not, it was the anniversary of the assassination of John F. Kennedy. So we might do a JFK special if or not there's something that you would like to see. Who knows if it happened or not, but we do got 2 weeks of live shows to fill. Hopefully we will be going on around 9 o'clock each and every night, so you can set your reminders, set your alarms, set your schedules, make sure to tune in. Will we be giving prize for anybody who watches every single night, every single minute? Probably not, but you might get a little sort of high five or something at the end of it if you do stick around for each and every one, although I'm pretty sure that some people have work, family and all that sort of stuff that aren't going to give up everything to watch me each and every night. But anyway, that's a little bit of what we have lined up for the next 2 weeks, and I did give you a little bit of description what we will be seeing tonight. And as I said, it is a little bit long. is sometimes these presentations do, when I kind of go to start recording them, I never ever kind of imagine that they will end up being as long as they did. That's why my MK Ultra Monarch programming ended up at 4.5 hours, and that was me trying to keep it brief. So I did try to keep tonight's presentation a little bit brief. It is around 1:25, but as I said, we can stop and start it if need be, and talk about stuff if or not you want. But another reason I kind of am doing this as well is it keeps me a little bit on topic. As you noticed in the sort of first 20 or so minutes, that I sort of do get a little bit distracted, get what I call brain farts, where I just can't think or anything, forget what I was talking about 2 minutes ago. Now, if or not that is the fact that I am getting a little bit older in years, I've smoked a little bit too much marijuana and abused myself with substance for far too long a period of time, and now sort of as I am entering the later stages of my life, perhaps it is having a delayed impact, but it may or may not be that. It may be the result of some kind of electromagnetic interference, which I kind of do have a suspicion that that might be the case. Go figure. Google, Twitter and Facebook are all over. Well, they all are. They're all kind of down in Silicon Valley, although they have like little tiny post office boxes in sort of tax havens that they register as their actual business address, so they don't have to pay taxes and stuff. But yeah, it is very, very funny that they all are kind of located in the fact that these people that kind of are the CEOs and owners of these tech giants like Twitter and Facebook, oh, little beta boys like this that can't get erections and prematurely ejaculate. And you know, Mark Zuckerberg, when he was like growing up is a young boy, and if you're listening, Mark, and this is going out to you and your algorithm on Facebook, because we are live on Facebook, so fact check this, but Mark Zuckerberg, I have reason to believe that when he was a young boy, that his mummy used to like stick a clothes peg, you know, like used to hang your clothes up on the washing line once upon a time. He used to put one of those on his penis to stop him having a little tug and play with himself after lights out in his bed, and she used to put a couple of on there and maybe one on his testicles to sort of make it hurt for him. He probably never ever grew out of that, and he still probably does have a clothes peg on his penis right now. Look at me, Mark Zuckerberg, I own Facebook, I'm the biggest, most powerful boy in the world, my mum says me. But fuck all these tech giant bitches, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, or was that the one that's dead? Bill Gates, these fuckers. But yeah, try and picture little Mark Zuckerberg with a clothes peg on his penis, and having his mummy wipe his bottom with one of those nice aloe vera induced napkins that kind of is soft and sensual, because you wouldn't want to get his little delicate butthole chaffed up, and he doesn't want to get that, you know, sometimes you get those little bits of paper that stick to your ass crack sometimes when you've had a particularly nasty vigorous wipe. So Mark Zuckerberg's mum, when she does wipe his bum after he does a poo, she does make sure that it's the delicatest, most fragile piece of paper, not to damage his ginger star there. So anyway, sorry guys if that was a little bit too visual and graphic for you, but we do like to be a little bit appropriate, and we do like to give the algorithm, as we said, something to work with. Have all the fun you want with that, Mr. Artificial Algorithm. Oh no, they contain things that would be a little bit aggressive and aggravate his bumhole, tam, anything with sort of, you know, maybe hand sanitizer or alcohol. We don't want his delicate little ring to sting, because he's got to get it greased up for like Bill and the other boys to like run a train on him and go to town, treat him like a little prison bukkake bitch, because I'm pretty sure you can see Mark Zuckerberg with cocks and balls on his face all covered in cum. Give me more, Elon, give me more, my clothes peg is twitching. Anyway guys, sorry about all of that. I am trying to don't start away. Give him all the shit you want in the comments below. So we do got a presentation for you. Is anybody eager to see this? Probably not. We could always abandon it, but we're probably not, because I did go to a little bit of trouble earlier today to put it together. But this FEMA stuff, maybe we'll look into and bring you some information tomorrow, because I'm guessing that is what happened, that they've kind of, and it's going to happen if they've given you regions, then it's only a matter of time. And is this because we are expecting something from outer space? Project Blue Beam and things like that, you know, is a topic that I have been bringing you quite a lot of over the course of the COVIDian era that we are now living. It's never gone away, right? The old normal's gone, people. This is it. COVID is here to stay, and they will use various forms of COVID, mutations of COVID. There's going to be a COVID 38 before we know it, and that will be twice as deadly. So there might be a 98% chance that you will survive it. Facebook jail for me. That's it. We all end up in Facebook jail sometime or another, and that's because don't say things I don't like. I'm Mark Zuckerberg. And you know, he gets all big in rage, and his mum, Mark, don't get angry. Here's your mail order bride. She's going to give you a hand job, but you can't sleep with her. That was in the contract. But anyway, guys, we do got a presentation that I am going to force upon you that is going to show you a few ways and methods that social media, and in particular our good old boy that we've just been ripping the piss out of, Mark Zuckerberg, use against us to manipulate our minds and mold the masses and social engineer us so they can put us into our little categories, just like we were describing with the pigs and the sheep and the cows on the farm. We're all livestock, we're all being human farmed, we're all being manipulated and controlled and directed one way or another. Keep calm and eat your Soylent Green. ATN, that's something that's I saw also, is that something that's coming to Canada, that they're talking about people aren't going to survive the next food shortage, but there is going to be plant-based proteins available for those that are going to be struggling. Actually, I think that was south of the border. That might have come out of the Camp Biden. So guys, remember one of those videos that I did put up in the early days of the pandemic, Soylent Green Society? Here we are, and now we're already hearing about the government looking to cordon off FEMA areas and distribute plant-based products to those people in need in those areas. Soylent Green, y'all. It's only a matter of time before the scoops are coming. And the disappeared end up getting recycled and refed to you. But bonsoir mon ami Etienne 2110. There is my only little bit of French, which I'm sort of getting a little bit better off at, maybe, or maybe not, but excuse me if I have butchered the French language. But as I said, guys, we do got a presentation. Let me see if I can get it up for you, which hopefully I can. What's going on? Here it is. Alrighty. So I've got to kind of get it up. Hang on. Whoops, I'm having all sorts of problems here. And somehow I press play. All right, can you still hear me? We should be up and running. Let me know if you can hear. We should be up and running. I'm going to disconnect my microphone, and you should be able to hear the presentation, all being well, via the artificial intelligence in our algorithm, and the information from that tracking can then be used against those demographics in order to kind of control them further. So this, as I said, is the first article that we're going to look at, and it comes from Stillness in the Storm. Go check them out if you want to. They have some interesting stuff on their website, and they are an agent of conscious evolution. My apologies there for not reading correctly. And that's a little bit what I'm trying to do, make some of you guys a little bit conscientious about your behavioral patterns that you have been inadvertently and unwillingly been programmed into carrying out on a daily basis. And hopefully some of the stuff that we are going to look at here, that is a little bit, as I said, reiteration of stuff that we have been talking about, but it will also highlight a couple of other things that are interesting also to have as information and understanding into gaining the bigger perspective of just how much of an influence social media actually has over the mind, and how much control the artificial algorithm and these artificial intelligence really do have over society and on a whole. So no further ado, let's start tracking down and getting into this. So here it is: mind control and social media, a few things you might not have known about your favorite social media platform, and come out in 2017, so nothing new here, folks. But anyway, the message is still ever much more the relevance in today's society, particularly in the fact that we have been sort of, many of us, reduced to non-essential personnel, living without purpose, occupation. You know, some people are out of school and such forth, staying at home, isolated from our regular routine and social interactions. And now we're getting all of our social interaction via our social media platforms, which are controlled and generated by artificial intelligent algorithms that are designed to keep our attention. And once they have our attention captured, that is when our Monarch MK Ultra programming kicks in, and things that you will see on your newsfeed are purposely placed there and designed to gain your attention. And once your attention is focused on your newsfeed, then you unwillingly hand over your capacity to think for yourself into the hands of your artificial intelligent handler. But anyway, social media has been somewhat of a benefit to the avid web user. Everyone who enjoys visiting other places, meeting new people, and shopping for new items from their own couch has found social media to be its own world of convenience. And this is a little bit of are we being ushered in, programmed into accepting a virtual world? Maybe not some of us Generation Xers or baby boomers that watch TSP TV, but maybe the millennials and their offspring. They will be immersed in a total virtuality, augmented reality of their own. They'll probably be plugged in transhumans and all that kind of shenanigans going on in the not so distant future. But this is what it was designed to do, to get us used to interacting virtually, to get us used to interacting via computers. And again, once we interact via computers, everything that there is interacted and exchanged is recorded and used as data against you. Unlike, you know, when you go out and have conversations with your friends at the bar or restaurant, or, you know, you go to the park or play some sports and you're chatting in the changing rooms, all of this stuff is sort of unrecorded. Unless, you know, there are microphones listening, but this is all kind of stuff that is spontaneous and organic social activity, as opposed to the forced social activity that is implanted within social media news feeds. But anyway, as I said, it does get us used to living into a world of convenience and a world of virtuality, along with the various benefits of entertainment, education, and studio social contact that social media may offer. There can also be a numerous amount of side effects you might not want to know about, or in the case that I'm trying to do now, you need to know about, because only when you understand how you are being manipulated and used do you have a better chance of combating this and beginning to regain a little bit of your own independent thought and getting some of your old behavioral patterns back. But anyway, many social media sites have become somewhat of an addiction for many people. No shit, it has. There are many people that can't put their phone down, just like a crackhead can't put the pookie down, and can't stop twisting 2 to 10. The social media addict can't put his phone down and can't stop scrolling and sharing and liking, or smashing the like bell or hitting the bell for notifications. But anyway, these are all things that are considered calls to action. Calls to action are ineffectively triggering you to behave in a certain way or manner, be it all smashing the like or agreeing with something that has been shared millions and millions of times with analytical manipulations to make it appear as though it has been shared and viewed multiple times. That will entice you more. My god, if 3 million people have seen this video, why haven't I seen it? Which will entice you to click on, as opposed to one of my videos that only has 39 views. People are like, fuck, only 39 people wanted to watch that video. It can't be very good. I'm not going to take the time to watch that. But anyway, some of these platforms are addictive, and they are designed to be addictive, though many do not realize this. The fact many of us do not necessarily understand the risks which platforms such as Facebook and Twitter can pose, yet these risks may affect in effect be affecting us on a daily basis, and they are affecting us on a daily basis, and they have changed the way humans do behave, and they are changing our social habits as a result. As long as we are aware of them, these platforms can be somewhat useful. A little bit what I'm trying to do is use these platforms against them to try and send a message of what these platforms are actually doing to you. That is why I'm shadow banned. That's why I get very few views on my videos. That's why every time I produce a video of this nature, the day after or during the stream, I will lose subscribers, and that is the algorithm shadow banning and passively censoring me, hoping that I'm so addicted to dopamine that I will go out of my way not to produce videos that will remove dopamine from my system rather than insert it. So I'm carrying on regardless. I don't need your dopamine. I've been addicted to and had many habits of substance that I've overcome. And trust me, algorithm, your dopamine shit. Compared to a nice shot of heroin, my friend, you don't come close. But anyway, I digress. So we are going to go and jump a little bit out of this article and look at another article, because it is very interesting in regards to stuff that I've been talking about this share if you agree culture, and where these memes actually originate from. In my thoughts and opinions and beliefs, they are designed in kind of tech tank think Super Bowl kind of genius social media gurus coming together to design the perfect narrative, dialogue and propaganda that will appeal to a certain demographic. And when you see it, you will indeed be triggered into your call of action to share and agree, because it has been designed exactly for that purpose. But anyway, they are more harm to human contact. Sorry, let me go back a little bit. I got lost there. Apologies. Many do not realize the fact. Many of us do not understand the risks of these platforms. The risks may be affecting us on a daily basis, which we just kind of got a little bit digressive with explaining. But as long as we're aware of them, these platforms can be somewhat useful as an actual human contact is better. That's what I'm saying. It's good to meet up in person and talk about these things. But if we can't, then let's use their tools against them. I'm talking about it. Hopefully you're listening. Hopefully maybe some of this stuff that you're hearing now while you're watching, you will pass on to other individuals, hopefully in person, maybe your next door neighbor or your friends at the dance club, or if you go grocery shopping and happen to be waiting in line with somebody. Make a conversation with them and let them know what is going on, particularly if they're looking at their social media. But anyway, this is the article that we're going to click, which is from that guy Snowden. What was his first name? I fucking forget now. Is it Ian Snowden? I can't remember. There he is. Right. So anyway, this came out in 2014. The article in question came out in 2014, but this post is from 2016. So again, nothing new. And this is a little bit why they brought this up in 2016 was in regards to how kind of social media in these behavioral engineers kind of formulated and got together to put memes and stuff in the form of, you know, propaganda in the form of memes that saturated social media feeds that got people to behave in a certain manner. But for many readers, it may come as a surprise that the United States government may view its own citizens as enemies of the state. See something, say something, the unpatriotic Patriot Act, all that stuff was designed because it believes you are enemies of the state. If you are a United States citizen, I once lived in the United States as an undocumented citizen, although you can't really be a citizen if you're not documented, but I did live in the United States for some years and did feel a little bit of the effects of mind control and possible electromagnetic frequencies, making everyone believe everything is fine and dandy, and the white picket fence 2.4 nuclear family is indeed the American dream that is very, very unattainable and very, very contrastingly different to the American life that many people do live. Many people have to have multiple jobs just to make a basic income and put the basic provisions on the table and keep a very modest and humble home above their heads to keep them, you know, housed and sheltered from the elements. But the American dream, as I said, is very impossible for many people in living in America, not just America, United States, United Kingdom, and Canada. Most people do live sort of in and around the poverty line, struggling paycheck to paycheck by design. And we are enemies of the state because many of us people are resource drainers of the state, be it health funding, you know, getting your garbage and stuff removed. All this stuff is a resource on government funding that is funded by taxpayers. So it's your sort of own money that is being handed over to others that then are reluctant to relinquish it from their grasp in order to provide you with the things that they promise you when they're trying to get elected. But back in 2014, Edward Snowden, wasn't Ian, it's Edward Snowden, released further revelations of how the NSA surveillance state has progressed. And that's an ad there for computers or something. And here we are once we got through those. And again, this is a little bit how these kind of articles are designed to steal your attention, that they put a whole bunch of ads and stuff before you get into that. That was all designed to make me click on and see if I wanted to buy any of that. But this is Britain's GCHQ, How to Guide for Online Covert Action, which, according to Glenn Greenwald, has been shared with US agencies like the NSA. And Tavistock Institute is something we are going to have to delve into, I think, in the not so distant future, because Tavistock Institute really is the sort of key to the sort of new world order and the elite's agenda and how it gets carried out. It usually sort of gets handed over to the Tavistock Institute that then find a way to implement it into society. In these kind of covert operations that we're going to see and talk about in this article are stuff that I believe did kind of come from the think tank at Tavistock, and then Tavistock does share this information with other global agencies around the globe in order for them to implement these tactics upon their own population and citizen. But upon review, it can only be described as government sponsored subterfuge of domestic society. So basically, they have shills, agents, operatives posing as individuals like you and me that then go onto social media, but they have a script in a pamphlet in a bunch of paraphernalia in propaganda in order to distribute as an actual person into timelines, news feeds, social media groups and stuff like that in order to send a message. And the more of these people that start saturating these platforms with these propaganda sites eventually gets picked up by the regular users who then start sharing and agreeing with this stuff.
So this is what I'm trying to explain to you guys about the dangers of sharing and agreeing. It's not necessarily that you don't agree with it. You may very well agree with what the meme says, but the point is they're getting you to share it because that is part of your programming. If you felt that the meme spoke to you, don't share the meme. Rewrite that meme in your own words and share that. See how many times people like and copy that if it hasn't already been shared millions and millions of times. But that's what I'm telling you. It is a call to action. It is to see who will respond to that. And if you click on the share, then you have been programmed perfectly into doing exactly that. So, according to these latest documents, there are paid government agent and contracted persons on social media posing as somebody they are not, a shill, whilst on the payroll of the government. Their job is to befriend members of the alternative media, people like you and me, maybe our little Cajun agent down there in Louisiana. Nancy is a governmental contractor that's been designed and paid to come and infiltrate the thrift store community and report back to her handler. I don't know if or not that's true, but as radical and outlandish as it sounds, that is exactly what happens. I'm not saying our little Cajun agent down there in Louisiana is, but you get the point of reference, I'm sure. That quite well be. You don't know who you are encountering really sometimes on social media unless you do know that person in person. But while they're on the payroll of the government, their job is to befriend the members of the alternative media, embed themselves in the ebb and flow of day-to-day communication. So, they might come into a Facebook group, for example, and start interacting and friending up members of that Facebook group, and then suddenly start sharing their propaganda. And this is it. What we just were saying there, to engage in elaborate subterfuge. I think that's how you say it, by any way necessary. And this is to get involved and change the direction of the narrative of that particular group, or change the mindset of the people that will use that. So this is how they do um, or they do manage to do that. Some of the methods that they use are terms like we're just saying, to befriend, infiltrate, mask, and mimic. So they kind of copy and agree with things that you may say in order to befriend you. They may not agree with you totally, but they might just be there to sort of fanboy talk you up and make you feel better about yourself, so you befriend them. This is again cult-like tactics, love bombs and stuff like that, making people the center of attention, making them feel good about themselves will kind of lower the defenses a little bit and make you a little bit more comfortable to the approaches of that individual. So mimic again, meme is memetics. We've talked about that lots and lots and lots. And the more and more you copy and share, the more you are becoming part of a memetic society that is being told what to think, what to share, when to share it, how to share it, and who to share it to. And the people that then see if you shared it, that then in turn share it, become part of that link of chain of memetic, hive mind, sheep herded, social engineered livestock in the human farm. But they set up, disrupt, create cognitive stress, use deception, ruin business relationships, and post negative information on appropriate forums, all of which is not only illegal and morally bankrupt, it also runs completely contrary to the very normal fundamental values and indeed the founding principles of a modern free democratic society or constitutional republic. The above is fairly thorough description of a government bent on disturbing and disrupting its own citizenry. Just like it is now, it's disturbing and disrupting the citizenry, not just in the United States, globally, with the COVID scammed pandemic narrative, okay? And within that narrative, there are two sides of the fence. There's the maskers and there are the anti-maskers. And both of these two sides sides of the opinion are being controlled by the same force. It is the controlled opposition leading and bringing the dissidents forward and into public, so that maybe in the future they can be rounded up using some kind of social credit system, social credit scoring that may, or they're tracking our data now. It's not implemented yet, but who knows? Maybe in a few years, oh, I'm sorry, due to COVID, we do need to track you everywhere, do need to keep a record if or not you wore a mask. This will be a social credit system that is used against you, right? So anyway, the government bent on disrupting and disturbing its own citizenry, divide and conquer, as we were just talking about, most likely for the purpose of gaining control over them, order from chaos, as I've mentioned before, and some of you should be aware of this. Mantra of the New World Order. However, with these types of tactics, one may be hard pressed to exercise away their illegal, not to mention tyrannical nature. The long standing excuse behind these practices has been they need to protect the American people from terrorism. Yet the ever increasingly invasive methods have yet to prevent one single terrorist attack in this country from occurring. The article continues, and again, that's because terrorist attacks on home soil or anywhere, I do believe, are not necessarily the actions of a radicalized fundamental terrorist, but in fact the actions of black ops, shadow operation, government agencies acting under a guise of radicalized fundamental terrorist tactics. Government's targets in this malicious operation appear to be bloggers, activists, journalists, social event organizers, maybe YouTubers, Facebook pages, stuff like that. These are all people that can provide platforms for shills. And anyone else deemed to be an emerging leader or voice in the public sphere or alternative media online. Maybe some of the people that lead these protests, or the head or the face or the spokesperson of protests, or some of these movements like BLM, Antifa, or the end of the lockdown type stuff. These people may or may not be shills that have been put in place, reading from a script, saying all the right things, leading the herd to slaughter, or leading the herd in the direction that the human farm wants that particular flock to be congregated. This obviously extends way beyond the practice of employing paid trolls to pollute comment sections, and that is something else. You can become, if you so wish, you can find an agency that's willing to pay you to troll. There are people that will pay you to troll and disrupt groups and such forth. But to pollute the comment sections and redirect forum threads, this is what you can get paid to do, as I was just saying, which still exists under both government and corporate umbrellas, and government contractors can operate under the corporate umbrella and therefore not necessarily sanctioned or what's the word I'm looking for? Not sanctioned. Constrained by governmental legislation and red tape, stuff like that. But thanks to our whistleblower, Edward Snowden, now something I also have to point out at this point, no one blows whistles that ain't meant to be heard. Maybe in his whistle blowing, he was designed to draw people out like myself to talk about such stuff. But anyway, as he says, this whistleblower, Edward Snowden, the public as well as moral individuals within government and the juries, I don't know that word, might fully realize how these sort of underhanded and unlawful operations have sunk to the lowest possible levels. It's not enough that the governments of both the UK and the US are blanket spying on each other's populations and then swapping data, but now we see they are aggressively targeting individuals in secret, undermining them, and eventually setting out to destroy them. and all the while employing organized deception with the full backing of state security apparatus to achieve a series of said outcomes. And they know how to get these outcomes due to the good old sentient world simulation and various other software platforms that your data does get inputted into, and a bunch of real-time scenarios are run out within a simulation. And once they get the results in, they can then target real life society and with that particular psychological operation. Um, by committing these acts, both the British and American governments, or portions, therefore, reveal themselves to be opposed to free speech and extensive degree. And this is exactly why I kind of say that the left and the right wing are the wings of the same bird, and it is the bird's head that leads the nation, not the wings of the both political parties. And the illusion of freedom lay within the fact that there are only two choices. Do you want to eat a tampon sandwich, or do you want to eat a maxi pad sandwich for your supper tonight? But these tactics literally employ the exact same methods of Nazi Germany in their attempt to subvert free and open communications among its citizens. Once again, potential terrorists are not all the targets. Are not at all the targets of these disruptive operations. The targets are the innocent citizens who have done nothing to deserve such treatment. Let's continue. That's conspiracy to defraud, and it is against the law in any modern civilized society. One has to pose the question, is this type of government sanctioned gang stalking and conspiracy to defraud civilized? Most people would answer no, of course not. But unfortunately, most people are not making the decisions regarding these new malicious Soviet style programs in the US and the British, um, in Britain and in the United States. Sorry for that. It's also comforting to know that the governments of Great Britain and the United States have allocated public money not only to spy on their own innocent citizens, but also that ample public money is also being spent to actively undermine free speech. Fact checkers, censorships, shadow banning, all this stuff is part of that, right? Derail small businesses. This is what we're kind of seeing now. That it is really the small businesses that are suffering due to these lockdown and ridiculous methods in protocols that are being put in place by bylaws to combat a disease that has a 99% survival rate. It's just about killing off independent businesses and pushing more and more people to big corporate franchises, chain stores, stuff like that, getting your Uber Eats delivered to you, getting your groceries delivered to you, all of that stuff. The local little greengrocer, they're not going to be able to offer you the same kind of deals and benefits as a big corporation can online, right? And that's what they want you to do, can carry out all of your businesses online so it can be tracked. But they want to undermine free speeches, derail small businesses, and entrap and intentionally defraud and deframe unsuspecting citizens that are deemed target by some secret committee, all carried out in an extrajudicial, outside the law way. It would seem the new style of government within the US and the UK have chosen to take a page from the lowest point of the cannot at all be considered a functional democracy or constitutional republic by any stretch of the imagination. The question is, why is this behavior being secretly employed simultaneously on both fronts? These establishments continually put on the superficial displays of fairness and equality, causing many to buy into the idea that these attributes are still the true state of things. It's not. We're living in the upside down. Everything that was right before is now wrong, and everything that was wrong is now right. However, behind the scenes, this subversion, disruption, and deception is illegally being waged on multiple fronts against unsuspecting citizenry. And many of those fronts that it is being waged on are social media platforms. It is no mystery as to why so many people choose not to give much thought to the revelations of Edward Snowden. The capacity of these revelations for thorough disillusionment is so high that they may easily deter anyone who holds emotional dependence upon their comfortable and ideological view of the world. And quite right, they do. Cognitive dissonance is something we spoke about with in MK Ultra and the Monarch programming stuff that we've been speaking about recently on Tsp Tv. Your least favorite YouTuber. Be sure not to press the bell, hit the like, or do any of the stuff that other YouTubers say. Do it on your own voluntary free will if you thus choose to. But these individuals may believe that order, fairness, and equality are absolute constants and require no initiation or action on the part of the common people in order to maintain them. However, the condition of the ideal very rarely matches that of the real. The only way fairness and equality have ever been maintained as a natural national standard is that those who are treated unfairly rise up and demand change. The societal standard must be such that those trusted to govern even hold their seats of influence with ethical integrity or vacate their seats immediately. We have been taught the only way to defend one's country is to leave it behind, travel to a foreign land and kill in its name. However, unless the actual enemy resides on the battlefield of that foreign land, taking the lives of foreign soldiers does nothing. If there exists some self-proclaimed enemy of the state here at home, perhaps sitting in seats of influence, traveling to that foreign battlefield to kill and or be killed helps no one. Our own offices of governance, particularly the NSA, and this is it, these offices of governance govern the government, need to know that they are no exception to the ethical principles of these countries, of this country. If this officials are able to hold the ethical standards required of their seats, they should be allowed to maintain them. However, since this no longer seems to be their intention, prosecution is also an option. And I believe that was that. So anyway, let's go back to the other article. So here we are back to the original article. So sorry and apologies if that did get a little bit long-winded and long in the tooth. Let's try and get back on track and try and skip through this as quickly as possible. So there are always risks when we choose to interest online. However, I'm guessing that should have said interact online. However, Facebook can have a particularly detrimental effect on the mind, and whether or not these effects are accidental or deliberate, it's always good for us to be informed about them. And this is from jchristoff.com. I'm guessing that might be a Jesus Christ reference then. Almost perfect. Yeah, it's got to be right. But the casino effect is something we've mentioned before at Tsp Tv. The sounds of messages and the comments coming in is meant to simulate the excitement centers of the brain, similar to the noises in a casino. And some of these sort of sounds and noises are also sort of implemented into those little mind killing sort of application games that you have, like Candy Crush or Clash of Clans. You just sort of sit there pressing and tapping buttons while little musical sounds are in the background in little sort of enchanting, magical, whimsical pings and pops will keep you entertained for hours upon hours on end. But this helps turn the person sorry, let's go back. Similar to the noises in a casino, which in turn helps the person bond to the sounds and crave them. And something I've actually find a little bit comforting from time to time is to listen to sound effects of 1980s amusement arcades somewhere I did play an awful lot of time, or spend an awful lot of time in, and pay a lot of money entertaining myself on video games back in the 1980s. But those sounds and sights, all of that was designed as part of mind control, which is something we did look back into during the 1985 Decoded episode. But it creates a bond with the person and gets the person craving them. I even know people that just leave the Candy Crush home screen on because they like the music. That is a thing. People do that. You can actually go to YouTube and listen to it on an endless loop if you want, but don't do that right now. Stay and watch me. I'm much more entertaining than the endless loop of a Candy Crush soundtracks. At least I hope so. Anyway. But the sounds make them crave them, and they are the sounds of attention. That when we get those sounds, we some attention. Whatever we've posted has gained some attention, and we therefore are programmed to respond to those sounds by picking up our phone and seeing what's going on. And once we pick the phone up, then the algorithm will kick into action and try to entertain you and gain your attention for as long as possible, and collect and extract as much data as it can, that it can then sell on to the highest bidder or give to governmental agencies that can then use it against you. A little bit like when they read you your rights, anything you say and do can be used in a court of law against you. But the attention sounds can help decorate somebody's empty life and set up Facebook addiction. So again, when you sort of get a new customer that you're selling drugs to, at the beginning of that relationship, you'll give them the good stuff because they keep coming back for more. And once they've sort of got a little bit used to it, you start cutting it and chopping it with other stuff, and then selling them the same gram but in 2 grams, but it's been cut up. And you just say to them, well, you've been doing it a little while now. You probably need twice the amount. You've got a little bit of an immunity. But anyway, I digress. It triggers a satisfaction. Sorry, let's go back. It sets up a Facebook addiction. When people react to our posts with likes and comments, it triggers a satisfaction substance called dopamine, something we talked about many, many times. And this is something that we all have to be very, very aware of, that we have been inadvertently pushed a dopamine habit upon ourselves. Like if you do go out and start drinking and then eventually become an alcoholic or drug addict, it's because you took a decision to take those drugs. You may not have took the decision to become an addict, but at some point in your life you chose to take a drink, take a hit of a bong, take a hit of a fucking pookie, stick a needle in your arm, whatever it was. You made a choice to do it. Unlike dopamine, where you just sort of thought you were doing nothing wrong, or nothing other than hanging out with your friends. You didn't realize that you were being bombarded with a drug-like substance, and you were indeed being turned into an addict that can be controlled for your kicks. But anyway, the post, it triggers a satisfaction called dopamine, proven to initiate addictive behavior. This agenda revolves around breaking down traditional family and community bonds by making people bond with computers and electronics as opposed to family and other humans. One of the founders of Facebook explains here in the same comment. We're not going to look at that. It is a little bit long-winded, but we have seen some of that stuff in the previous live stream I did, social media mind control. Go back and check some of that out. Something I've mentioned, like things like ASMR. We watch ASMR videos on YouTube. This is getting us used to being stimulated by a virtual entity, so to speak. We don't actually have to be touched by another person to get tingles and tickles. We can just plug in our earphones and listen to somebody speak in whispers and do some tap tap tapping, and we feel good about yourself. I'm not going to lie, ASMR videos can be quite relaxing. Sometimes if your mind's a little bit racing, they will help you detach, but that's what they do. They become addictive, and sometimes you just end up plugged into ASMR videos until the tingles don't come back, and you're looking for those tingles again. A little bit like, you know, the first time you take a hit of something, it's usually the best hit we have, and we spend the rest of our addictions or behavioral habits trying to replicate that. um, but that's it, you know. And also people in households now today, you know, they may sit around the table for supper, but cell phones are usually not without of reach, and probably, you know, people can't go the entire meal without having to pick up that phone. People can't go on dates with each other now and sit across a booth without having to pick up their phone every now and then to check to see if they've got any dopamine to collect from their notifications. But let's get back to it. We could go on and on and on about the dopamine and how it works and how social media, you should know this, people cannot put their phones down. It has indeed become a little artificial intelligent handler that is monarching and MK ultraing our minds. Trust me, people, it's real. I'm not just ranting maniacally in my basement whilst under the influence of marijuana and THC. But face recognition, you should understand this. This is why it's called Facebook, by the ruling families who organize this technology to track everyone's face. You're in a database now, guys. We've all done it. We all signed up. We all agreed to the terms and conditions that can be changed at a win, a little bit like Darth Vader in Empire Strikes Back when he landed prior to the arrival of Han Solo in the Millennium Falcon as they fled from the ice planet of Hoth. Darth Vader, luckily enough, due to the information handed to him from Boba Fett, the clone of Jango Fett, the bounty hunter, Darth Vader arrived in Cloud City at Bespin, did a deal with Lando Calrissian that Lando Calrissian signed up for, that was then altered and changed just to the whim of Darth Vader, and it really turned out that there was no deal at all. A little bit like Facebook. We signed up once upon a time and it was a nice free and easy platform, but now we are finding that the deal is being altered more and more, and let's pray they don't alter it further. But it's straight out of the Orwellian boot, and straight out of the Orwellian books. So when you cause too much trouble, your face in the future years can be pulled up from social media and used against you. As a side note, this technology is completely bogus at this point in time because recent conviction using facial recognition software failed to recognize that the real criminal had a large mole on his face when the person arrested and sent to jail and eventually let out didn't have a mole. It's just another scam to throw you into the slammer. That is the thoughts and opinions of the author of this article. I'm not too familiar with what he just spake, but there is some indeed flaws that can be attributed to computer facial recognition that a human eye or observational patterns of a human will kind of differ greatly. Um, but if you cause some trouble for our social engineers down the control grid, and there's an article there to look, they want you to be able to track you everywhere in case you leave the control grid. Facial recognition technology is part of the human farming operations to keep us penned in our little herds and keep us going back and forward to the fields that they want to. And just like the farmer does provide, you know, a shelter for his cows or his livestock, and gives them a field to go out and have a little wander around before they eventually end up being packed into little styrofoam packages with saran wrap and distributed on supermarket shelves. And that's a little bit like how humans are kind of controlled and farmed. So I think I got something a little bit sidetracked or lost there, but you get the picture. Facial recognition is something you should be too aware of. But this is one that is interesting that I don't think we've mentioned before, but the emotional venting, and a lot of people do vent their emotions on Facebook or other social media platforms, but more so on Facebook, I believe, because you can use as many characters as you want, as in like Twitter. And I think Instagram as well is also limited on the amount of things you can use, but I don't use Instagram or Twitter, so I don't really know too much about them. But it's a simple technology which is used mainly other areas as well, not just Facebook, It's about making the slave class believe they have a say. And if you have a say and somebody agrees with you and you get a little bit of dopamine, you don't feel as bad about yourself and don't mind as much that the slave or the issues of slavery that caused you to vent still exist. You'll just get up the next day thinking, oh, well, at least Sandra from accounts agreed with me and liked and give me a care emoji. And that made me feel better about the situation. It's not so bad today. I can deal with slavery once I've had my dopamine kick. Um, Allowing them to vent off emotion or rebellion potential. And this is again what we're talking about, if we're going to be problems for our captors, or those who imprison us further down the road. If we do speak in post about rebellious things on social media, maybe they can use this up, pull it up and use it against us, right? And this is what we're talking about, how these sort of infiltrators that we're just hearing about from Edward Snowden infiltrate not only sort of social media, but they have infiltrated mainstream organizations and movements like BLM, Antifa, and dare I say even the lockdown protests that we see here in Toronto, and sort of rising up a little bit more and becoming increasing in number as the weeks go by, it would seem. These I do believe are infiltrated and are being part of the controlled operation, the communist takeover, Red Squad tactics, drawing out the dissidents, all of those that may oppose a government, a totalitarian government that might sort of rebel against it. These people are being herded into their particular farm, and it's only a matter of time before they are led to the slaughterhouse. But anyway, it gives them a slay. It makes people believe that they have a say. It makes them believe they have some kind of control by allowing them to vent off the emotion or rebellion. But sometimes you might say or vent something on your Facebook that now goes against community standards and will be removed, and you'll get a 3-day or more Facebook jail sentence as a result, and they may stop you and prevent you from being able to share to groups if you continue to post things that they don't like. Whereas these government agent shills that are infiltrating social media platforms and groups and such forth, they'll be able to say and post exactly what they want. But it is to divert angry energy away from the abusive slave master. In the 9 to 5 slavery, and it's not 9 to 5 anymore, most people have a 24/7 work schedule and shift patterns now. The days of 9 to 5 don't really exist, I don't think, anymore. But the slave master slaves in their 9 to 5 slavery don't experience a full range of emotions or control in their lives. So the emotion icons were added to help with the emotional venting in a way to trick the slave's mind into pretending it has control. To more fully understand this venting concept, you may want to watch this video I made on how sports is used in the same way to vent off rebellion potential from the slave class. We're not going to watch the video, but a little bit back in the Roman days, and bear in mind the Roman Empire was the one world order of the time, and they provided entertainment in the form of the gladiators at the Colosseum, where the slaves would go and cheer for their favorite gladiator or roar on the lions as they tore apart Christians, stuff like this. It was all distraction and made people have some kind of sort of outlet, I guess, in a way to vent some emotions and energies that would maybe targeted a war towards their slave owners or slave masters. But using likes to drive addiction, this is back to the dopamine. The algorithms inside the Facebook program are set more widely distribute what you write to your friends list, the less you use it. So this is a little bit something I've noticed, like in the last sort of couple of months. I guess since the passing of my father, I haven't really sort of been felt like doing much in sort of other than feeling a little bit sorry for myself, or just wanting to sort of self-isolate in my own funk, I guess. But I haven't been making as many videos, and I haven't been streaming as often as I had. And I noticed now that if I don't stream for a week, then usually the first stream that I do will get around 200 views, which is quite a lot of views for this small shadow banned, non-monetized, passively censored channel that you are currently watching. Um, but I will get a larger amount of views. And then if I stream the day after, I might get quite a few views, but not as many as the day before. And then if I do stream for a third day, then the views will be increasingly low. So the less you use your social media, when you do use it, the more dopamine and presence you will be given, because they want to kind of get your presence there and get you activated, interacting with your news feed and collecting dopamine via notifications. But anyway, the algorithms in there are designed to distribute the less you use it. This means the first post you make in the morning gets the most wide distribution, and successive posts that follow it get progressively less. We explained why sometimes at the end of the night you can't really put your phone down, because you're kind of trying to scramble for that last little bit of dopamine before you do fall asleep. You hit a little bit like an addict. You always have one last hit before bedtime, one last shot before bedtime. You know how it works. And then usually you've got something ready to go on the sideboard next to the bed for when you awake. I know I've been there, ready to go the minute I awake. And I'm sure some of you also have been there. And this is what people do now. You know, before we get up and take a piss in the morning, people pick up their phone. And then while they go and take their morning dump, they will be scrolling. It's like sort of smoking a spliff while you take a shit. We've all been there, folks. But anyway, it gets less and less and less like the machine, the casino machine. So I give you a big payout, and then once you've got all those coins in your hand, you sort of spend there through the rest of the day trying to get a similar amount of coins, while kind of removing the coins that you already have and giving it back to the machine, and the house always wins. So we are up against sort of intelligence that in sort of an unfair, like, you know, we're fighting a losing battle. We don't really necessarily know exactly the extent of the powers that are being used against us. Not just the powers, the methods, the protocols, the algorithms, the technology, all of the stuff that is being used against us, we are very unaware of. Maybe ignorance might be bliss, but we are trying to draw some awareness and wake a few folks up. And the more of us that kind of can start seeing these behavioral patterns in ourselves, the more of us that can start correcting those behavioral patterns if we choose to. It's not up to you. I'm not telling you to go out and start changing everything about yourself just because I say so. Not at all. I'm just giving you information that you can form your own thoughts and opinions. And the more and more of us that can free ourselves from the artificial intelligent clutches and being programmed and molded into the desired citizens that the one world order wants us to be, we might even stand a chance of being able to make a somewhat fair fight of it, although not really. But you know what I'm saying? If we're not the rat in the maze is unaware it is in the maze, and it doesn't know that the cheese was planted there by the creator of the maze, or if you understand what I'm trying to say in that analogy. But anyway, they make sure you get drawn in early in the morning by giving you the most dopamine. And once you're sort of hooked in on that, you spend the rest of the day chasing that fix. That's how addictions works, those. Where are we? Where are we? So it's also interesting to note that the more likes, comments and traffic towards your page happens when you are on it. This means when you sit in front of the computer moving the mouse, you will get a more emotional rewards as opposed to posting and walking away. And that's what they want you to do, get you designed to be hooked on it, scrolling with your thumb, scrolling with your mouse, and then they will just keep bombarding you every now and then with a little bit of dopamine. And when you're doing that, a good way to do it is share and agree with things that have already got a high content, dopamine content factor to it. And this is the subliminal part of your addiction is you don't realize that your mind is searching for a dopamine source. And when you see something that suggests to you that it's been shared thousands or millions of times, or it's been viewed a viral amount of times around the world, that you see that as a high dopamine source. All right, so you're more likely to share on it as opposed to a video that's got 1 thumbs up and 36 views. It's like, shit, if I share that, there's a good chance I'm getting no dopamine. I might even get some dislikes, or somebody might even laugh and joke at me because it wasn't very popular. A little bit like the rules of this playground. Remember, we also had to sort of conform, and if a kid turned up with a pair of sneakers from the flea market that didn't have a brand name on there, he was probably teased. But if you turned up in a nice pair of Nike Cortezes or a nice pair of Jordans, you'd probably be the envy of other kids in the schoolyard, and they would say, wow, nice sneakers. And then you do get a little bit of dopamine. See how it works? Hope you enjoyed that little simile for you there, or allegory, if you like. So anyway, where are we? This sort of brain activation reward system, um, reward control system, makes people addicted to the short-term reward only, making them unable to apply themselves to any project that provides reward in the long-term feature. Which is why I make long videos, folks. I want people who have the ability and to have the attention to sit and watch something that's longer than 10 minutes or more than 140 characters. They have a thirst for knowledge and they want to learn, and the reward hopefully will be that much greater in the end. Although I don't know if or not these are rewarding to you. But as I said, guys, that is why I don't conform to the desired product of YouTube and make a short 10-minute video about the same thing each and every week, because that is what they want from you, to be a one-trick pony. Repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse. That kind of cycle. But anyway, reward in the long-term future, like starting a business, for example. Don't know if you want to start a business, but that's one example. The short-term stimuli system manufactures a person who needs a reward on a minute-to-minute basis, placing real success completely out of their reach, because the real success is based on accomplishing long-term goals. This cements the slave father in their slavery, especially conditioning the mind to be aversive to starting an independent business venture. It doesn't have to be an independent business. It might be an independent thought, or an independent, maybe you wanted to start learning how to play the guitar, or maybe you wanted to learn how to play badminton, but you don't do it because it's not popular. Or it's going to take, or you're not good at it straight away. You're going to take some time to practice. So you don't want to put the effort into it. In the long run, and this is what people are being bred into, the Instagram instant satisfied, let's get all our informations from 140 characters. I don't really want to watch a 30-minute long video. I'd rather just get the information from a meme that's been copied and shared and agreed with. See what I'm saying? The man in this link explains the death of long-term goals, which is great for the ruling 1% and terrible for the slave. Exactly. If you don't have any long-term goals or anything to sort of live for or build for, then we are literally just existing and not really living. We're not going to watch the video there, but it talks about the electronic addiction. If not, I'll put the link for you. I don't know, but it's pretty much what we're saying, and we don't want to get this little bit of this article any longer than it needs to be. And I'm almost certain some of you are getting a little bit bored of it as a result. So let's try and get on. Sorry about that. So it's terrible for the slave. The brain gets active. Sorry, let me go back. The man at this explains the death of long-term goals, which is the great for the 1% and terrible for the slave class. Because if we can't see beyond our next like, then there's probably a chance that we're not going to see beyond next week, and then we're probably not going to see what the government is doing while we're searching for our likes in dopamine, if you get me. But the part of the brain that gets activated by Facebook simulation actually grows inside, needing more and more stimulation from Facebook or other stimulates. And that's kind of, you hear about gateway drugs. Once you sort of aren't getting high enough from that drug, you may find another drug to either replace or supplement that. So, maybe if you sort of have multiple social media platforms, like, you go on, you check your Facebook. Once you've got as high as the dopamine is given to you there, you jump over to Instagram, grab some more dopamine, jump over to Twitter, jump over to Snapchat. And the more and more and more you're doing that, the less and less you are paying attention to living your life and being free the way you ought to be. But other simulates. What this means is that Facebook technology, which is proven to activate addiction centers in the brain, can trigger other addictions and short-term pleasure thinking. In short, Facebook can trigger the hedonism gone wild spiritual takeover that is now so common thing in the population at large. And the Instagram selfie, narcissistic hedonism is what that's kind of a little bit reference to, and the fact that sort of people were just out and about interacting on Tinder and Grindr, not necessarily sort of pursuing relationships in the old value, and the days of meeting a girl or boy at the coffee shop and having a coffee and chatting and going out for dinner. That stuff doesn't really happen anymore. It's all done online, and people seem to have disappointing experiences once they finally meet the person online that they thought was going to be absolutely great, because that person has presented the best possible image of themselves, using their best photos, the coolest things that they can possibly wear, all the cool music that they like, the cool things that they like to do. Kind of mention the fact that maybe they suffer from hemorrhoids, maybe they got a bad back, maybe they have an allergy to cats. Nobody puts that shit up, or very, very few. It's always the best possible representation, the filtered version of ourselves. But control venting by allowing the slaves to pretend they have a say in all topics, a little bit like the election, pretending that you guys have a say in who gets elected and who gets to govern the land. It's all pretend, guys. It's not real. Your vote has never ever mattered. It's always a foregone conclusion. It's a little bit like WrestleMania. The outcome is already decided before the event even unfolds. But it also stops them from preparing from what's really coming. Many people vote online to save the rain, to save the rainforest, to stop the pollution, sign online petitions. They write an article about the government being corrupt, but how many actually have a firearm, a wood stove, a supply of food, lots of ammo, solar power, fresh water supply, warm clothing, hunting supplies, fishing supplies, etc., etc. The stuff that you would need in emergency. Now, those of you that do follow this channel and have been paying attention will know that just behind me, although you can't see it because I'm screen recording, there is a pretty stocked prepper pantry. I also have a couple of bug out bags within reach. If I needed to go at a minute's notice, I could grab those and have enough sort of equipment on hand to sort of get me to somewhere that could probably sustain me a little bit longer than the items that I did have within those bags that are designed to grab and go, bug out bags. I do have warm clothing, and I do have in some of those some fishing equipment, even though it's a couple of lines and hooks, it is fishing equipment. And I do have a little bit of weaponry. Some of it I can't share or show you on this channel, but trust me guys, I am as prepared as I feel I can be within my means possible, and I've put everything together pretty much with the exception of my eBay EDC bag on a budget from my dollar store. That's why I'm the thrift store prepper, and why this is TSP TV. I have a whole lot more to offer you than just thrifty prepping tips like the information I'm trying to share with you now. But information a little bit like beauty, guys, does lie in the eye of the beholder and depend greatly on point of view. So one man's important information might be another man's toilet paper for tomorrow, if you get what I'm saying there. But some people don't have any of these, and you may remember a little bit back in the day we did used to do a little bit of pretender prepper exposed videos where we pointed out that these individuals were just playing the part of a prepper, wearing the clothes that a prepper might wear, talking about the things that preppers like to hear, but really and truly all they are designed to do is deliver you a product placement for a gadget you don't really need. But anyway, how many people really do have these things, and you know, how many? Everyone's an activist until it is time to be active, is a little bit of a saying that I've heard before. When a person thinks they're helping the world by doing very little, if anything at all, they are now deemed as a slacktivist, and we've spoken about slacktivism before. But also what they're doing is they're being bred into actually, you know, like you said, doing absolutely nothing. Writing an article, sharing a meme doesn't really change what our slave masters are doing to us. It just gives the slave masters the data that you might be of a dissident nature and might need to be targeted for disappearance when the time comes. And there are some more related links there which we could look at, but we won't, because there's a lot of stuff, and as I said, we're trying to keep this as swift and short as we can. But if or not you guys want to go and look at any of that in the future, you can look, put that into search bars, find the information for yourself. Stop, you know, again, this is another little example I'll give you now. In recent weeks, probably in the last 10 days to 2 weeks, I guess, I've been seeing an awful increase of the amount of people saying, hey, I'm on Parler, this is my my link, follow me here, I'm getting off Facebook, it's too censored. Now, I'm going to pose this question, and I almost know the answer exclusively on this before you even give it to me. But how many of you people woke up one morning like, fuck me, censorship on Facebook, fact checking, this shit's bullshit. I can't deal with Facebook anymore. I'm going to go out and do a little bit of research, see if there's another platform out there that isn't as censored. And how many of you then went to a search engine, maybe Google, maybe DuckDuck, maybe Bing, whichever search engine you choose? Did you go to that and put in a search in for less censored social media platforms than Facebook, and then look at the information that was given to you as a result of that search for said information, and then decided out of that information that, oh my goodness, this app Parler, this looks really, really good. I'm gonna sign up for this Parler. I've made my opinion up. I've looked at the information available. It does seem to me that Parler is the best alternative to Facebook. I'm gonna get a sign up. And you know what? Once I've signed up, I'm gonna tell my friends about this on Facebook and tell them that they should sign up. Or did you see that one of your friends on Facebook had signed up to Parler and you decided that you should sign up to Parler? I'm pretty sure it was the latter. And I know if you're lying if you say that you did go and do the former and search and look up the information of your own. And as I said, guys, there is a very, very good chance that it was the fact that you saw somebody on your news stream that had gotten a Parler account and signed up that made you then go and get a Parler account and sign up and share your information on your news feed. Mimetic behavior, monkey see, monkey do, guys. Nothing ends up on your news feed that wasn't meant to be seen. And Parler isn't a free alternative, non-censored platform. It is indeed controlled, monitored, and data is collected and will be sold to the highest bidder. At the moment, they might let you say what you want, but give it a couple of updates and they will be fact checking you as much as the Facebook fact checkers are. In fact, probably Facebook will buy them up in a couple of months. So as I said, guys, that was a little example I wanted to give you, and ask yourself and be honest with yourself in your answer once you've asked it. Did you research and look up an alternative to Facebook, or did Facebook indeed find and provide you its alternative? And that in itself should suggest to you that Facebook wants you to go and get a Parler account, because maybe you can go over there and start saying more things that you can't say on Facebook that then be used against you in the future. But the powers that organize it give you the population to pretend you have control, to help them vent as opposed to slaves. That same energy, prepare them what's coming, yada yada, whoop de woo. Do people have preps and things like this? Are they aware of false flags and ever increasing and violence, ensuing chaos against the populace? Soon enough, it's best to make at least minor preparations, if not major ones. Stop writing about stuff, stop sharing, stop agreeing, start thinking and talking about what you need in your beliefs, and your opinions. Share those more than agreeing with forced opinions and forced narratives that are part of psychological operations and false flags and stuff like that. As I said, guys, I'm trying to prepare the mind, not just the pantry. And to be honest with you, as important as food is, it's never ever going to be something we're not going to need. We always need to eat until the day we die. So that is probably the most important thing that you can be prepared for. But prepared mind and the ability to be able to act, and not just say you can act, is what I'm getting at. When the time comes, are you really, really, really willing to dig a 6-foot hole for that pedophile that you come across, that you suggested that you would, in a meme that you copied and shared, that had been copied and shared millions of times? What I'm talking about. Well, if pedophilia is just a sexual orientation, and then digging 6 feet graves is just gardening, as I said, killing and disposing of bodies isn't as easy as you might like to think. And when push comes to shove, there's a good chance that you're not going to be able to do it. Anyway, dissident tracking. This is the important part here. Facebook algorithm track who's posting pictures of their cats and their glass of wine on a Friday night. And these are the compliant drone, hive mind, bot, bootlicker, order taker, repeater, slave type, government loving, flag waving, warmongering, cheerleader, sedated, distracted sports watcher, follower type. And that is, I guess, the stereotypical version of your average social media user, according to the original author of this particular article. But there is a lot of stuff to be held true there. But anyway, the Facebook also tracks who actually knows what's going on, a little bit like me. That's why I seem to get subscribers disappearing every time I talk about something Facebook or YouTube doesn't want to. That's why nobody likes and shares anything I post on Facebook, because it doesn't want you to see or hear it. You probably don't even know half of the stuff I've put up on my Facebook or YouTube channel, because the algorithm hid it from you. But it collects data on people like this. Both types of people are targets, using, we're all the targeted people, the people that are sharing a bottle of wine and cat pictures. They have been programmed. They are very, very much under the control of the artificial algorithm and the slave masters who programmed the algorithm. But the uninformed slave will be poisoned off the planet with a course of vaccines, toxic megs, the increasing poisonous junk food, cell phone radiation, the EMFs. That's all stuff we talked about. It was big in the 80s, the introduction of like junk food, the beginning of digital technology being brought into the household, stuff like this. But they go on to mention chemtrails are going to be taxed into oblivion, charities, drives that steal their money, etc. The dissidents will be hunted down eventually, unless every slave comes together as one force and disman's slave masters reel in his satanic behavior. Stop surveilling us, stop controlling us, stop programming us to behave in the ways that they want, not the ways that we should, according to our species. Regardless, no one will be spared. So, spreading the word and awakening more people is the only strategy the author believes that's worthwhile on Facebook. It's also a strategy that I believe in, and why I do what I do, and why I shit post so much on Facebook is really kind of to fuck with the algorithm and really to upset some of the drone mind controlled sheeple that are posting on there. Hopefully, my posts will upset their little stream of dopamine induced, fueled, desired content. If or not you do get to see some of my stuff on your news feeds, I don't know. But that is the purpose behind a lot of the stuff I post. And sometimes I do like to question things on stuff that you post, just to give you the reaction that wasn't desired, and to maybe make you think a little bit more about for your not about yourself but for yourself, rather than being part of the mind drone hive mind mentality. Share if you agree. Can I get an amen? Copy and paste the bunny types that are becoming more and more increasing. Find people of knowledge on Facebook. Try to give you a little bit of a platform to share information and knowledge in the TSP TV Clubhouse. Learn to educate, ascend, evolve, rediscover. That's what I'm trying to do now. I'm trying to give you a little bit of education so you can ascend and evolve out of your dopamine social media, your dopamine driven social media mind control. Free yourself from your artificial intelligent algorithmic handler that is doing everything in its power and programming to turn you into a zombie. Promote ethical behavior and move the world in the direction it needs to move. You don't really have to do that. Just move yourself in the direction that you should be directing in, and not in the direction that social media is forcing you and programming you to move in. And they go on to say there isn't posting pictures of yourself shit faced every Friday night, or a picture of your newest stuff. Let's adult up and get on with it. Facebook also tracks the most powerful truth-based information, and then tags limitation algorithms to it, so the least amount of people can share and spread it. And that is exactly what they do to me, folks. I'm almost certain of it, and would bet my bottom I would bet my last Romin that that is exactly what the shadow banning and passive censorship that I am talking about is a result of, an algorithm that is limiting this information from being seen and shared. And this is what you need to do, guys. Start thinking for yourself. Don't necessarily go out and share this information. Looking for the information that I've been sharing with you here for yourself. Find some relevant information and then share that. Share your thoughts and opinions on what you think about this. Don't share my thoughts and opinions, or don't share things that have been told to you to be shared and agreed with, if you get me, guys. That's why this stuff really fucking pisses me off, because it really is the removal of independent thought and the implementation of the hive minds. But anyway, that spread information. Facebook also uses highly contagious algorithm so that useless information and compliant behavior spreads far and wide. Copy and paste the bunny, but change what the bunny is holding. That's fucking what I'm talking about, people. And this is the information that hopefully will reinforce what I'm telling you, and show you that it is not just the nonsensical ramblings of a stoner in his basement. I'm a very observationalist individual, and do see signs and patterns, and I do try to pass on that information. Maybe not as eloquently and as well as somebody with a higher education that I never ever got, but still, I do try to spread the message in the way I can. And sometimes I call upon articles like this, which is stuff that I have found as a result of putting stuff into search bars on my own, that I look, research, read into, and then if I think it's important, I like to share that with you. And as it kind of supports a lot of the stuff that I've been sharing with you in recent weeks over social media mind control, that is why I decided to choose this article to bring to you now. There's a lot more links there going on that we're not going to click on for you right now. behavior analysts. The behavior of the collective Facebook community is analyzed daily in, and I'd go on to say in real time, regarding if the public is still under hypnosis or not. Copy and paste the bunny, folks. That was the biggest indication for me so far in the COVIDian era that people are under social media mind control, or artificially intelligent mind control. Just as we've seen above, they try to make sure that the most nonsensical information and time wasting information and programmatic human farming information gets spread as far as wide as possible. And the amount of people that reacted to that call of action, that particular trigger to follow the instructions, was unbelievably scary. Kind of really did make me think that humanity has really truly been lost. But let's not give up all hope now. You know, once upon a time, it was just Luke Skywalker and a X-class stunt fighter armed with a couple of proton torpedoes and a targeting computer that he turned off, and he chose to use the Force, not technology, to guide him and make the shot that eventually destroyed the Death Star, and thus killing 1 million Imperial contractors and employees in the resulting explosion. But you see what I'm saying, guys? Luke didn't trust the computer. He trusted the Force, or his feelings, and he let that guide him to his target. Wonderful analogy there for you who are fans of a galaxy far, far away. Where are we going there? But the behavior collector is analyzed to see if you are under hypnosis. That's when we went on to the copy and the bunny. Share if you agree. Can I get an amen? 99% of you aren't brave enough to share. That is all part of your hypnosis, guys. How are people reacting to each particular fabricated news event, or our handlers manufacture and spread using the lamestream media? What story works best to inject fear into the public? What colors? That's why you're seeing a lot of purple. Purple is the color of disassociation. It is the color of beta programming in monarch methods. Told you that in another video that you probably didn't watch. But this is why you see all the things that you see on your news feed are a design of what is going on here in behavioral analysis, and they target the exact content and desired content to make you behave in the desired way. What pictures work best? This is stuff we looked at when we saw that government agency that we had a meme specialist that had a whole database and computer system designed to create the most eye-catching memes to spread propaganda with. And this is what is attracting you to copy and paste and share. The more and more you copy and pasting and sharing, the less and less you are thinking, the less and less you're paying attention to real issues and problem. What colors work best? What pictures work best? The sheeple still asleep? And yes, if they're copying and pasting the bunny but changing what it's holding, they are indeed still asleep. If not, they are kind of sleepwalking perhaps, or maybe they're just hitting the snooze button and just only dozing. They're not fully awake. But do the tyrants have to start placing even more toxins into vaccines to destroy the nervous system function in the slave class? Is more fluoride needed? Maybe more mercury? And this is what they're doing by this is what happens. The more and more you comply, the more and more they realize what they have to do to make us comply more, or what they don't have to do, or if or not what they're doing is working. And when you copy and paste the bunny and share what it's holding, they know exactly that it's working, and they know that, fuck me, we managed to get half the people on the planet under our control and respond within a second to seeing a copied and pasted bunny. This is called cybernetics, the study of how the bullshit travels, how fast, and in what direction. The ruling 1% use Facebook to assess the most effective way to move the lies into collective psyche of the public, creating the hive minds, repeating the same mantras: no justice, no peace, no justice, no peace. You know, and that was what the BLM protests were chanting as their mantra, and, you know, hugs over masks, things like that. And these how they can put out the collective psyche into the minds of the masses. Government propaganda is advertising, and propaganda is selling you something, and propaganda comes in many shapes, form, and guises. For the rule, it is advertising for the rule of ruling families, and like any good business, you need to track the results of your advertising to see what works best. And I'd love to see the data that they collected on the copy and paste the bunny, but change what it is holding. Psyop. The like language effect. If you notice, many young people today can't communicate effectively without using language, because every second word is like. Word magic, the ability to communicate effectively and change other person's mind, is interrupted by the word like being used in a sentence. The use of the word like as a joining word in sentence is slave talk. For the slaves, because it means no effective communication of ideas can concur. The use of the like button and conversations about likes drives that word deeper into the slave's subconscious, making it more apt to be used in slave talk, if that's even possible. Continue reading. And you know what I mean, like, oh, like totally, or, you know, like I was at the Starbucks and like this guy asked me for a frappuccino, but like I said to him, like, I don't have frappuccinos right now. That kind of example, that was a bit of a shit one, but you know what I'm saying. People use the word like. And the other thing that people can sort of do now in terms of communication is, you know, we use these abbreviations like LOL or WTF or PSML, or people use emojis more than they use words to communicate. This is all, you know, kind of stopping the process of the mind working and functioning in the way it is. So I think that's it, guys. We have reached the end of this, I believe. There's some disclaimers and stuff at the bottom about it, but sorry again if this did go off topic a couple of times and we did go on a lot longer than anticipated. But as I did mention in this, sometimes information can't be condensed into 140 characters, and it can't always fit into a 10-minute video. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Let's go back to the studio.
Okay guys, we are back. Can you hear me okay? Hopefully you can. Let me turn the camera back on. Let me get rid of that for you. And welcome. Thank you for staying and paying attention to that. It was a little bit long-winded and did get a little bit boring at times. I do apologize for that, but once I kind of started recording, got into it, you've kind of committed, so I had to kind of get it over and done with and out of the way. But hopefully some of the information in there will have kind of been retained, may have opened your eyes, or may have just kind of confirmed what you already know about what is going on right now. So there were some interesting points and stuff that were raised in there. Nancy, bless you, you brought up a very good point about sort of like having Alzheimer's disease. And some of these tactics that are being used by social media are kind of giving people a simulated version of Alzheimer's, so to speak, and giving them a short attention span, short, ADHD type symptoms, excuse me there, and things like this that will just keep them there. And this is why YouTube videos are, designed to be or asked to be 10 minutes long, because they don't want people to have too much retention. They want them jumping onto the next 10-minute video and the next 10-minute video and the next 10-minute video and such forth like this. And the more they do that, the more or the less and less they have the ability to retain information or pay attention to anything that is longer than that. So that is kind of why, as I said in that little of presentation, I try to make things a little bit lengthy in their process, because it kind of will deter some of those people that don't have the attention to watch it, and maybe people that don't have the attention may not be the right sort of fix for our little community, if you get what I'm saying there. There's something of interest with Parler, for example, and something I've mentioned over the course of these months we've been living under the COVIDian era. Within the Manchurian Karens video I put out some months back, that are certain social media apps, and bearing in mind using electromagnetic frequencies and how these can be tuned and finally adapted to tailor-made for an individual, are some of these apps emitting frequencies, and are they sort of putting subliminals in there that are controlling and brainwashing people into behaving in a certain way? So people that, for example with Parler, people who are disgruntled with Facebook because of the fact checking, because stuff like this might be censored, or you know, any kind of truthful news articles that they put on there comes under fact checking scrutiny, and thus, you know, they get sent to Facebook jail, they can't use it anymore. Are these people being ushered to Parler, and then once they're on Parler and part of Parler, they can then emit the frequencies or whatever sort of mind control that they desire within that application, in a little bit kind of, you know, tailor making in designing your herd. It's kind of like genetically breeding the prime prize-winning pumpkin or an award-winning lamb, something like that, but maybe, you know, the equivalent of just a desired population mindset, and by using and becoming part of a social media app, and you get sort of rooted into it and you can't put that down, a little bit like kind of Facebook, or people that use Facebooks, are they being programmed to behave in a certain way? And Nancy said that she notes a lot of people kind of fussing, and I believe this is part of the design and part of the society that we're living in, and how we are being disrupted and disinformed, and kept in a state of distress. We don't really know what's going on with COVID, don't really know what's going on with the election. There's so many conflicting news and articles. This is being fact-checked, that's not being fact-checked, this is being scrutinized, China's doing this, Sweden's doing that. And all the time that this is going on, it's just making us a little bit more uncertain, a little bit more distressed, anxious and depressed. And the more and more we fall into that category and get, you know, a little bit like the symptoms I'm finding, where I just really want to be on my own in the dark, not really interacting with anybody or doing anything. I guess, Angela, that it is a little bit like Facebook or another social media platform, that a lot of folks are being herded towards, and they're being herded towards it mainly via Facebook. And this is, you know, what sort of algorithms are doing. They sort of target things that are of interest to you, so they know what is of interest to you, so that is why they are pushing Parler towards you. And then once people are on Parler and start using that, they then become a demographic that can be easy to control. It's like, okay, we got rid of all those conspiracy theorists off of Facebook, and they're all on Parler now. We can just set programming algorithms, AI, that can just target and deal with those people, as opposed to having to deal with it all under the Facebook umbrella, if you catch me. We know what's in Nevada, Las Vegas, Area 51. But there you go. I'll have to go back and watch it. I had to put my phone on mute for dinner. Not no worries, it is that sort of time of day. So as I said, guys, it was a little bit of a long-winded presentation, if or not any of you did enjoy it. But Baby P, she mentioned something about it would be interesting to see if the thrift fam could go, or I'm guessing what she was suggesting was, could we see as an experiment how long we could go with maybe not interacting on social media. Now, for some of us, you know, we do get together and chat on Messenger and things like that, so, you know, it would be kind of impossible to give it up cold turkey and be able to kind of really have a a group experiment, so to speak, without being able to be together as a group. It'd be a lot easier if we were sort of all in the same town or city, where we could maybe sort of meet up each and every day rather than talk on oh, you're the Taco Maniac, you're back with, I told you, Taco Maniac, you got a credit card, I got a PayPal, I charge $50 a button. If you want me to unbutton, start showing me the Reddies, homeboy or homegirl, whatever you are. Otherwise, put up or shut up. So as I said, I'll unbutton a shirt. The more money you put in the tip jar, the more buttons get unbuttoned. And if you want a private show and you want me to jerk off for you, that's going to cost you a hell of a lot more, Taco Maniac. So if you want me to unbutton my shirt, put your money where your mouth is. So there you go. Let's see what some of you guys are saying in the YouTube chat. More like, don't go back to see who hit the like button or how long could... I get you. So sort of just, well, I don't know. Actually, I don't really get you, to come to think of it. I mean, I think I do. What you're sort of suggesting is maybe we post things and then just leave it. So maybe we spend like a couple of hours in the morning and then we leave our phones on the side, turn it off for the day perhaps, and then decide to tune in or turn on at a certain time of the evening, something like that. Is that what I'm kind of gauging? Would that be an idea? Would anybody be willing to try a little group experiment and see if we could do that? Maybe limit, you know, not give up cold turkey perhaps, but maybe sort of limit social interactions to an hour or two a day, and then maybe sort of tune in later on in the evening throughout the duration of 2 weeks of tea. Because bear in mind, guys, this is the first night. You've got through one. There's 13 more to go before we do celebrate the big 2. It's just 2. There's nothing else after it. It's the second birthday. Just post it and walk away. How can you go? How long can you go without checking? All right, I see. Yeah, how long can you leave your phone without having to pick up? That would be a very good experiment. Now, something I did notice in my days when I used to work in a restaurant, and some of the girls were my co-workers, a couple of them had quite large Instagram followings. You know, some of them were incredibly pretty girls, and they did have lots of followers on Instagram that used to give them thumbs up and likes and reactions, particularly if, you know, they showed a bit of booty or leant forward and showed some cleavage. But some of these girls, like literally it'd be 30 seconds at a time. They couldn't put it down, they couldn't leave it alone. It was up, down, up, down, up, down. Now I used to be, you know, when I did work, I did actually limit myself kind of, obviously because I had maybe 8 or 9 hours a day that I was working with my hands and wasn't able to always use a phone. But I never carried my phone with me onto my workstation. I always left it in my bag down in my locker, and I'd get up in the mornings, and when I had my smoke and my coffee for maybe an hour, no more than 2 hours, because I used to sort of get up 2 hours before I had to go to work, I would spend a little time just checking some of my notifications, doing some uploads to some of my various groups on Facebook, or maybe chatting to some of you or other folks, checking football results, stuff like that. But I wasn't necessarily there scrolling endlessly. But since sort of I've been off work all of these months, more often than not I do sort of just sit and sometimes binge watch TV shows, or sometimes just stare at the wall. But did I oh, something's happened. Sorry about that. Did I hide somebody? If I did hide somebody, no, I didn't mean to hide Angela. How do I unhide Angela? Angela, sorry if I did that. I just noticed maybe I pressed something by accident when I was returning to... Oh, she's gone completely now. How do we undo that? Angela, if you're still watching, my apologies. Okay, Kelly Kibo, good job, Kelly, for hiding Angela. I don't even know how I come to do that, or if I intended to. Maybe I should pay more attention. Good job there, Kelly. Sort of lost my train of thought there, but anyway, give me some feedback, guys. Let me know something of interest in that. you really earned your wench tonight. Maybe we should have employee of the week, and I could put, or wench of the week. We could put a picture of you in the background there. I'm here in the background. Now, Kelly, you actually were a guest caller on one of my better shows, actually, not so long ago, when you spoke about your sort of experience a little bit with, what are they called? Straight. The sort of cult-like detention center that you found yourself in, and a little bit of kind of that sort of, you spoke about, they had, what do they call it, when if you did something bad, people would motivate you or something like that, motivation, where they'd all like cheer and sort of cult-like chanting around you to make you sort of feel better about yourself. And that's a little bit kind of similar to sort of getting lots of likes and reactions on your sort of posts, and there you sort of get rewarded for doing something that is according to programming, if I'm kind of making myself clear enough in what I'm trying to say, because sometimes I know what I want to say but don't sometimes know the words in order to say it, which seems to be the case. But all of what has been going on recently with the COVID, and how more and more people now are interacting and spending more time than possibly they did before on social media, is, you know, we talked about the augmented reality and stuff like this. They're giving us fuel for the mind and the imagination that's making us believe that things that maybe aren't real are real. And we spoke about, you know, War of the Worlds back in 1938 when Orson Welles did a dramatization of the H.G. Wells classic. How even though people throughout the dramatization, they were informed that it was a dramatization, many people just thought it was real. And not only that, people who thought it was real also went to the belief of thinking they saw things in the sky, or they smelt the smell of the heat ray, which was repeated that it smelt like sulfur over and over again. This was all a psychological operation to see how the populace would react to a dramatization being passed off as news. And what we're seeing now in COVIDian days is exactly the same methods and tactics, that they're selling us a sci-fi story and saying that it is real, and it is the fear that people are generating and taking from social media, be it from the anti-mask or the mask side, is perpetuating the augmentation of our reality. That being said, Kali Ninja's got some puffering, which is quite disturbing, especially in conjunction with the fictional series Utopia, which I did do a decoded episode on not so long ago that didn't really get so many views, but is one of the more important TV shows I think you could possibly spend some time watching, because it is so very, 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 very starkly realistic and relevant and resemblant to our real life. But Utopia, and I think you need to watch the second, and it's a reboot. It came out in 2013 in the United Kingdom and run for 2 seasons. And in the second season of Utopia, they explain how the first wave of the scamdemic that they had within that realm of fiction wasn't real. They just manipulated some deaths from people with flu or other conditions and just said that they had the disease in question. A little bit like COVID in the wave 1. All of a sudden, flu disappeared. No one died of flu, but everyone was dying of COVID. People that fell out of high-story building windows and hit the floor 20 stories below died of COVID. People that had car accidents died of COVID, if you know what I mean. And this generated and helped manipulate the figures that were then passed on to mainstream media and then into social media that give the impression that, oh my God, people are dying of this disease. We really do need to wear a mask and stay 6 feet apart. But what they explained is this just created the fear. And once the second wave was released, it actually was a deadly release of a second wave of a pathogen. And how they did this was to release it by various airports, large international airports. They mile or so away from where it is, they let it out airborne, and obviously people coming in and out of large international airports will pick this up and transmit it wherever it goes. And it ended up or would end up killing nearly 500 million people, doing quite a lot for depopulation. But the purpose of the second wave being actually real was that this really did enforce the fear, and then people were, oh my god, we really do need the vaccine. And then the purpose of the vaccine was not to cure them from the disease, because obviously they controlled the disease, it was a biological weapon. It was to implement a device that would render the human reproductive system useless for up to 3 generations. So all of it was a great big deception just to get something to depopulate people. Are we being depopulated now? Yes, we are. We've been in a depopulation agenda for quite some time. But are we being depopulated as a result of COVID? Up until now, I would say no, we're not. They've just been manipulating the stats for a desired effect. However, I do know from a very dear good friend who is in the medical industry, who does spend a lot of time on the wards, is saying that they are seeing an increase in particular elderly patients that are coming into her hospital and are being hooked up to ventilators and such forth, and do seem to be systematic of something, whereas this was not evident during the first wave. So is a deadly strain of something or other that they're calling COVID been admitted into the atmosphere that is now actually taking an impact? Is it time to maybe be a little bit more aware and mask up perhaps, or really start thinking about isolating and quarantining, social distancing and stuff like that? But as Kelly's just pointed up today, is a lot of this just helping to ramp up the fear? And bearing in mind the stuff we spoke about, electromagnetic frequencies, and how the symptoms of EMF sensitivity are almost identical to the symptoms of COVID-19. If you had a device in your hand that could transmit and simulate those effects of a disease that is supposedly causing a global pandemic, then maybe the disease is being spread via our phone rather than being airborne, and you get the symptoms that you're hearing are part of a pandemic on the TV: chest pain, hard breathing, feels like the flu, maybe a cold, that kind of stuff. You hear it repeated and then you may believe it. And then there are those people that have like the psychosomatic effect, those kind of, what do they call them, hypochondriacs, people who sneeze and think they've got tuberculosis, and stuff like that. There are actually sort of some people that go out of their way to fake illnesses in order to go to the hospital and get treated. That is how sort of deep hypochondria goes. But a lot of hypochondria is a psychosomatic effect, and psychosomatic effects was something that we witnessed during, or not us personally, because not many of us were alive in 1938, but that was something that was witnessed with the dramatization of War of the Worlds, when Orson Welles read it out as though it was a real-time news event. People believed it, and that is what's happening now. People are believing that the pandemic is real. I need to piss, guys, unfortunately. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes, so I'm gonna wrap this up at 2 hours 30. That keeps it nice and symmetrical for me, at least. If or not you guys enjoyed this evening's show, I don't know, don't care, and I do care a little bit. I'd like to think that there was some part of it that was informative. My apologies, it was a little bit longer than anticipated, but as I explained, once I did commit to recording and sort of got so far, and I thought, like, I just got to keep going to the end now, otherwise it's been a wasted afternoon. But over the next course of the 2 weeks, I am going to try and bring you some presentations. It won't be presentations every night probably, and they certainly won't be as long as tonight. Oh my gosh, that was so terrible. Thank you. What, this stream or something else? Yeah, that show was nuts. Lots of predictive programming. About Utopia. Yeah, Iggy did good, and I was glad to see Iggy did a show on it. I was actually chatting to him about it, and like I kind of put the, not sort of saying, hey, I did it first, but I put the video up sort of within a day or two of it being released on Amazon, and I watched both the Amazon and the UK one in to go, in, like, you know, I was thank you. Iggy saw it. He's spreading the message. More people need to see and pay attention to this. And I was chatting to him. It's like they are really telling us what they are doing, and the fact that at the beginning of the show it sort of starts with this is based on fictional pandemic and not based on any real life events. Again, is that just to enforce the fear? But it is very, very much. Go and check out, if you haven't, Angela, go check out my video on Utopia, because I cover the UK version as well as the US version, which does run for for 2 seasons. So there is spoilers if you don't want to know what's going on. Hey, Drain the Swamp, glad to see you. Never fails whenever we say we are about to wrap this up. Somebody does pop in to the thrift store. But I was really glad to see that Iggy put out another video about it, because, as I said, when I watched it, I think I told a couple of guys about it, and so you really need to check this show out. Oh my God, it couldn't be more relevant to reality, and in particular why it sort of spoke to me, being a geek, being somebody who spent a lot of my life reading comic books, and not only reading comic books, working in and managing and even part owning for a little while a comic book store. It was a particular interest to me because it was about a bunch of comic book geeks who had decoded fiction and unraveled a conspiracy within their reality that is very similar to the reality that we are being spoon-fed via mainstream media. And some of my predictive programming, fiction decoded content is also very relevant to what we have been seeing in modern day society, in particular Soylent Green, guys, which is a video that recently got censored on YouTube because they claimed it was a copyright strike, even though it has been up for around about 3 or 4 months prior to that. And some of you may remember I did have to edit that greatly in order just to upload it in the first place, so I got a burp for baby P. In particular, I heard an article, or saw an article today, that I do believe was from south of the border, not north of the border, as I first thought, about Biden explaining that there would be food aid for those who are not going to survive the food shortage that is coming, and there would be plant-based protein available to them. Soylent Green, yeah, folks. Tuesday is Soylent Green Day, and if you remember, Soylent Green, set in 2022, they were all wearing masks, and it was recorded and made in 1973. So there we go. We've got 6 minutes to go before the 2 hours 30 mark. So we will be back again tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern time, for those of you who want to set reminders, alarms, stuff like that. Baby P, we'll talk more off air about if or not we can come up with some kind of challenge that we could probably carry out. But what was that drain there? I thought it would be... Did I miss something? Okay, Maiden's putting little one to bed. Good night. God bless to the little maiden up there. Sorry, I'm missing something here. Kali Ninja. Oh yeah, I thought I would share this. We heard it for sure and wasn't coming from the phones. Is this about some sort of noise in the air? Yeah, I'm reading. I'm trying to go back. Which comment am I reading? Hello, friends. The other day, my friend stopped over and I noticed a beeping sound and told my friend to take his phone in the other room. And the beeping sound stopped. 2 phones closer than 6 feet. Okay, now what it beeps. So this was something a little bit about us being 6 feet apart, and there's something I thought and put together and theorized about electromagnetic frequencies, that if we're 6 feet apart, then maybe our little electromagnetic frequency bubble that is being emitted from our cell phone doesn't spread more than 6 feet, and then we won't come in contact with other people where we might get interference from their electromagnetic bubble, if you see what I mean. And maybe a little bit like Ghostbusters, if the 2 streams cross, then we might get disruptive programming. It might sort of spend us a bit this way or that way. And another reason for the little social bubble circles that were in the parks, where you could only have 10 people, I think, in a little circle like this, that once you're in there, then all of your phones can sync and link up, and then they can tell the database that, okay, these people are all friends, we can send the same amount of program or the same desired program to each and every one that is in your little social circle. COVID alerts, this is all software and stuff that's put in, and I think, you know, the COVID is a little bit kind of similar to the sort of Patriot Act. They needed an excuse to implement some very totalitarian tracking methods within government and legislation, and this is a little bit what we're seeing with COVID alerts on our cell phones, that all this software that has been put in there is little more than tracing and tracking who we come in contact with. But this is stuff I'm kind of theorizing, not saying this is actual fact, but it kind of sort of makes a little bit of sense to me, at least. But phones are synchronized and accounts can synchronize, and you can kind of connect via Bluetooth and infrared with other phones. And what you're talking about, Angela, maybe that's what Becky P meant, that might be the COVID alert, that maybe these alarms are sort of going off that you two have come too close to each other when you shouldn't have, or maybe the person that come to visit you wasn't in your circle perhaps. And this is again going back to those little social bubble circles, that if you're in there, then maybe those people will be permitted to come and visit you, and if you didn't sit in the little bubble in the park, then maybe they can't, if you get what I'm trying to say there. But yeah, we've got some, this is, you know, a little bit again what I'm trying to sort of explain to you about the sort of mind control and social media and social engineering, and how this is not necessarily our friend. It is in fact a weapon that is being used against us, and it's kind of destroying us slowly, piece by piece. But it's not sort of taking potholes with high powered sniper rifles with high velocity ammunition. It's taking us out with neural removal of thoughts, and implanting us with desired language, narrative and behavior. Well, my phone, I think, is only 4G capacity capable at the moment. I don't know if it will be available to upgrade to 5G or not, but we'll probably talk about some of this stuff in another stream. As I said, we are very, very close now to the 2-hour 30 mark. I really am crossing my legs because I do need to pee quite rapidly. So guys, tomorrow we'll be back again at 9 p.m. Eastern. This was night 1 of Tsp Tv 2-year anniversary celebrations, 2 weeks of tea, 13 nights to go before we do celebrate the 2nd birthday and anniversary of Tsp Tv. So folks, thank you very much for your patience and company this evening. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode tonight, and we'll see you all again tomorrow. Until then, take care, keep it thrifty, be excellent to each other. This was a ship video production for Tsp Tv. See you tomorrow, guys.